welcome back to Between Sessions. My name is Eboni Harris.
And I'm Eliza Bokeen, and we are two brown chicks changing the face of therapy on both sides of the couch.
I think there's a delay, but it is what it is. Thank you for joining us for another episode. It's a delay. It's a delay that's messing us up because we usually have it.
Yeah.
I feel like video though. Definitely, I am ready. I'm ready for us to be face to face. I'm ready for us to like do it together because
and like each other.
Well, that part. But for the most part, it ain't like we do a lot of stuff. Like I literally am on my couch
doing nothing. I'm not going nowhere. I go to the grocery store. I come home.
Right. I don't go anywhere. I'm trying to think when's the last time I even went to the grocery store. Because I started having it where I can now park and I can put the groceries in my trunk, even though I do feel like they be picking out the worst of the worst when it comes to produce. Anyways, we'll have to get back together so we can start doing this face to face and
yes.
We can have that chemistry that we used to have. I mean, we still have it because
we still have it.
We spent 15 minutes laughing before we even started this podcast, so clearly it's still there. But so today we're gonna talk about where my haters at.
We ready for them.
We ready. I was telling Elisa, we ready for the haters. We're ready, and we've had some haters over some, a few, not a lot, but we've had people that tell us therapy is not necessary. And people of color are always trying to find an excuse for their pain. Just deal with it. Like we've had some people that have challenged us, but we are ready for the haters. And what that means?
We should wait, because I feel like the way that we work, like that's just opening floodgates, right?
That's what we're going to clarify. We're going to clarify. For the universe, for the people, for everybody. Like, let's get clear on what that means.
Right.
We are ready to live authentically, even more than we already are. And so we want to talk about just what that means as far as like, why do people even have haters? And typically it means that they're starting to live in their purpose. They're starting to live in their most authentic way. And, that makes people uncomfortable sometimes. And so we're going to chat about what does living authentically even mean, and just how do you know if you're living an authentic life? So
and the whole conversation sparked after we were talking last time after our last podcast. I can't remember what we were talking about, and you said
it was the ghosting, and it was the people that were upset with us.
Yeah, and then you said I can't wait to have some haters. I was like, wait, what?
I don't have very many haters.
And you said that. You said, and it really struck me because you said, I've always tried to kind of be in the middle.
Yep.
About I'm here sharing our personal. May I share this?
You can share it. This is me being authentic. You can share
it. You said I've always kind of gone the middle road, and you said that's usually a sign of when we're not. Like we're playing it safe. And that really struck me. And that's when I was like, we need to have that be an episode, because so often we will hear that conversation about living authentically and, all of that stuff. So when you live authentically, you're going to have people that are not necessarily going to love you. So that's what I hate. Because for all people that don't know, what does it mean? What's a hater, Eboni?
I mean, a hater. I feel like a hater is typically someone who has a problem with you minding your business and living your life. That's typically what it looks like. Yeah. Right. It looks like I am living my life, and a lot of times enjoying my life. And that makes people uncomfortable. It makes people, they kind of question, well, how did you get there? And why are you so happy? And it's more of a reflection of them than it is of you. Yeah. But I think that like you kind of stated, like for me, I have always tried, especially as a therapist too, right? Like there is a level of, I speak about a lot of topics. I have other podcasts that I do outside of this, but even in those spaces, there are times when you could catch me and I'm speaking like what Ebony truly thinks. And then there are other times it's like, no, but you have to be a professional. You have to, make sure that you're not saying all, some women, some men. And like the reality is, we have certain experiences that shape the way we think. We, want to be able to be as well, maybe don't want to, but I want to be able to be as raw and authentic. And what I've said on here and on other platforms is, as I started to be more authentic in other areas of my life, as I started to be more authentic, even with like getting clients and talking to people that want to work with me or speaking engagements and just being more real, is when I saw a boom in my practice, because people are like, oh yeah, okay, I like your personality, I like you, as opposed to when it's like trying to be like this professional and speak a certain way. So a lot of times it is like people just don't quite understand how you can feel so confident in what you're saying or be so genuine in what you're saying. And I feel like that's where a lot of the haters come from, is like when you start to kind of move like, I'm just doing me and that's all I care about, it makes people uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. That there's a rule set of what that looks like. So what does it mean to be a professional woman? What does it mean to be a good therapist? What does it mean to be a high quality woman? Right?
Y'all gonna start seeing me with makeup on. My nails are done. Y'all about to see a brand new Ebony. Not quite, because I don't feel like that would be me living authentically, though. Like getting my nails done is not something that's me. But yeah, what does that mean?
But it's like you're not fitting this. You're not kind of following these rules.
Yeah.
And if you're not following these rules, and whether those rules are set on a micro level, maybe it's within your family, or on a macro level, it's society, and you're living authentically, and then you're successfully living authentically. And like you said, that may mean I'm really happy, like that's the ultimate success. Yes. Like I'm really happy.
Yes.
So whether that be in business or whether that be in your life, maybe well, we'll get into it. We can give examples, but you can make decisions that people that you love don't agree with, and then everybody thinks that you are making a mistake and you're not going to be happy, and then look at you happy,
right?
And they're waiting for you not to be,
because they wanted you to live the way that fits them, that works for them, and not what works for you. So that goes into,
I was gonna say, and the rules that they lived by. So it's like, these are the rules, right? You can't.
Why aren't you following them?
You can be happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're gonna go into like, how do you know if you are living authentically or inauthentically? How do you know that the haters are about to come? Because that's what I am getting ready for.
You need to stop saying that.
I know, right? That's like, and it's so funny because I'm so big on like language and like, one, the power of words, of course, but then even, working with couples, it's always like, okay, I get that you like, my couples always like to say, I said that already. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me how you said it though. Cause I'm sure the way you said it and the way I'm saying it are two different things. And so, yes, I do need to be careful with my words because they do mean things and they do have power.
So I'm ready to live authentically and be okay with whoever that upsets.
Yes.
That's how we're versing all of this.
That sounds good. So
you don't get like an inbox full of hate mail.
Yeah, I don't need y'all to tell me that y'all hate me. I'm just, saying I'm okay with it. You don't have to let me know. Please keep it to yourself because I'm saying I'm ready, but
you're not ready.
Right, I'm not ready. I'm just ready. Like it's a difference. So the first way that we were kind of discussing, like, how do you know or not know what space you're in? We were talking about like kind of codependency and people pleasing. So what are your thoughts on that? Like when you're authentic versus not authentic, like what does that look like?
Well, I think you can't be authentic and be codependent. Right. So what do we mean by codependency? Because I think we hear that word a lot, or we hear that term a lot, and it's hard to define sometimes, but essentially is codependency is that sense of I can't be okay unless you're okay, or my well-being is tied to your well-being. So you hear that term a lot when people have family members or loved ones that maybe are struggling with some form of addiction, and the family kind of gravitates around that person, and the family can't be okay unless the person gets well, and maybe they're not looking to get well, right? That's kind of where it originated. But that happens in day-to-day life. We spend all this energy in trying to get, for example, our partners to be a better version of themselves, because we think once they're okay, then we'll be happier. So codependency is the idea that if I can fix them, then I'll be okay, or that I can't be okay if they're not okay. And that's tough, because I think there's two things to consider. One is the cultural aspect, where, you know, we come from communities where family community is a big thing, right? Like we're less individualistic thinking. So you do care about the people around you. So it can be really easy to get those lines blurred.
Right.
But I think if you can remember is that we can have interdependence, but healthy interdependence is when everybody is doing their work, everybody's doing their part for the greater good, for the collective, right?
Yeah.
So that's the codependency piece. And then the people pleasing piece is kind of tied to that, is that I'm doing these things, or I'm reaching these goals because I want to get some positive feedback, or if I don't do it, my mother will be upset, my father will be upset, my friends will be upset. It's not necessarily something I want to do, but I want to please them, and I don't want them to hate on me.
Yeah. And I think that that's a big part of it, is when you're making decisions and or when you have made a decision, how much does the opinions of other factor into that? How much does what other people think, what other people feel, go into how you live your life? Now, do I think that, like you said, it's a difference. You should be able to take in information. You should be able to like hear people's perspective and then not feel like I'm just going to do the exact opposite because I want to do what I want to do, but to be able to, to be able to live your life knowing that what may work for you may not have worked for other people, or what may work for you may actually help heal whatever you have going on. And I just saw this post that was like, when you heal yourself, you heal past generations, you know? So you are doing your work so that the stuff that they went through, the sacrifices they made, the life that they chose to live, it's worth it, because now you have this option to live your life the best way that fits you. And sometimes that can feel very isolating, and it can feel like, you know, like you're the outcast, depending on what your family dynamic is or what your friendship dynamic is.
Right. And you don't have the modeling for it. You know, you don't necessarily, like, the people around you, maybe that's not the decisions that they've made. And you're getting the pushback. That's difficult. And one thing I think that is important, that I always share this with my clients, is that we all have our own agendas, right? Like everybody has their own agenda, and our agendas are usually because we want to feel good. You know, like I do certain things because I want to feel good. They may not be the healthiest ways to get there, right? Because sometimes we have maladaptive ways of trying to feel good, but we want to feel good. We try to avoid pain. So that's my agenda. That's your agenda. And so a lot of the times, the way that I'm going to feel good is if you behave a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. So if you do certain things that don't necessarily challenge my comfort level, because maybe they challenge me in that you're not going to be as available for me, or maybe they'll challenge me because I don't agree. You know, I don't agree with what you're doing. And so that's your agenda. And if it doesn't line up with mine, that's where we'll have conflict. And if you're someone who's codependent or people pleaser, you're going to think that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you have to be able to distinguish between that, right? You have to be able to identify, when is it, if I'm living authentically in myself, it shouldn't be an issue for other people. And so that's a big way to kind of know if your decisions are being made in that way. And if your decisions are being made in a manner of like, how are other people looking at me? And so I know you said that when it comes to that, like codependency and that people pleasing, it's really hard to be living authentically if you don't have boundaries, right? And
you can't. Yeah.
I was gonna say, and that that's a big part of if you're doing any work around codependency, right? What is it? The love addiction and all of that. Like all of that is about how are you capable of letting people know what you need, what you desire, what's not okay for you, and stand by that? Or is it very much, I'll tell you, but if you tell me no, I'm not doing that, then I'll just kind of let it go, and I won't be able, I can't deal with the fact that you may be upset with me, or you may not be able to like give me what I need.
Right. Yeah. So if you're going to live authentically, you're going to have to be really comfortable with setting boundaries, because boundaries go beyond the physical, right?
Yep.
There's also emotional boundaries. So where do I begin and where do you end is really often the question with boundaries. And really just remembering that boundaries is what's okay, what's not okay. And so whether that's physically or emotionally. So it's not okay that you're putting onto me shame because you don't like the way that I'm living my life. It's not okay that you are trying to make me feel guilty about the sacrifices that you made. And now I'm being ungrateful. You're trying to manipulate me into feeling a certain way. So I always tell people, when people are trying to guilt you or shame you, it really is, they're trying to control you through your emotions so that you will ultimately act the way or choose the behaviors that they want you to choose, or to make the decision. If you can feel bad enough about yourself, and what we know is that shame is incredibly powerful. And so if I can make you feel just like a terrible enough person, then hopefully you'll want to relieve that pain of feeling like a terrible person, and you'll do the thing that we're saying is going to make you feel better, right? So being able to have really healthy emotional boundaries of, they can have their opinion and I can respect it, but I don't have to take it on to impact me in a way where it limits what I want to do.
Yeah. And being able to have those conversations and feel comfortable with, like, you might have a different opinion and we could talk about that, but that doesn't necessarily sway what I need or what I believe or what's going on with me. I think oftentimes we avoid conversations because we don't feel as rooted in whatever we believe or think or need. And some of that can be around like your own self-worth. Like, do I deserve, am I worthy of this? And so if I try to push this and say like, hey, this is the way I need to be treated, and that person says, no, I'm not doing that, then if you don't feel like you have that self-worth, it's really easy to just be like, okay, I just have to accept it, you know? And so if that's the case, if it feels like I don't even want to have these conversations because I don't know if whatever I'm asking for or whatever I believe is actually like solid in who I am, then it makes it if you can't talk about it, then that means that it's not truly what you value, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Which goes into core values, right?
Right. Yeah, that's another big important part of this work, is really being able to identify your core values. That's another little exercise that I often do with my clients in helping them identify what their top 3 core values are. And that's because our core values, what I have found is that when we compromise or we negotiate our core values, that's when we really experience a lot of distress and like lack of satisfaction in our life, right? So sometimes we can't really even label what our core values are. But if you're making decisions that are rooted in supporting your core values, so let's say, one of my core values is family, it is spirituality, it is freedom, right? Like, if these are my core values, then I want to make decisions that are going to allow me to be in integrity with my core values. But if I'm a people pleaser, these are my core values, and I really need you to be okay with me, and I really need your approval. Your core values may be different than mine, right? And then if I'm making choices that are based on your core values, then I'm not in integrity with my core values, and that's where we start to have that disconnect. Because I might have your approval, but this isn't authentically me.
Right. And one way for you to even know is if you're living in alignment with your core values is, what does your life look like? right? Like, does it
Exactly.
reflect my core values? You said yours are family, freedom, and spirituality. So how much time are you able to spend with your family and make these special moments with your family? How often are you sitting in that spirituality, whether that's meditation or church or whatever the case may be? And so when you look at your life, you can kind of say like, okay, wait, am I able to do, like, does my life reflect what I say my values are? And if they don't, do they reflect what my partner's values are, my mama's values are, you know, my friend, like, whose values is your life reflecting? And so understanding, kind of getting into, and if you Google, because we did a workshop year before last and kind of talked about core values a lot. And if you Google just like a list of values, it's like a list of like 100 values. And if you can get those narrowed down step by step by step, narrow down to 3 or 4, then you'll know what your core values are, just based on what is most important when it comes to these things. And when you compare these two, and I'm really big on even defining. Like, one of mine is safety. And the way I look at that is I want to create safe spaces for different conversations. I want to feel safe, you know, so I define things very differently. Well, I defined it for what works for me. It's, first off, identifying it, and then looking at your life and seeing how are my values reflected in my life? And if they're not, what decisions am I making that are not authentically me? And how do I need to change that so I am living more authentically?
Yep. So we have to know what our core values are, and we have to be able to have clarity.
Yes. I think that's a huge one, to be able to live in, and obviously this isn't something that you're able to do all the time. There are times when you're not sure how to move and things like that. But when you are making decisions, or when you are living your life just in general, to be able to feel like, I know what my next steps are. I know, like, again, next steps, not 5, 10, 30 steps down the line, because we tend to get caught up in that, which creates some anxiety. But I know today what I need to do to continue me down the path that I need to go. And if something comes that kind of sways me off my course, that's fine, but I know I can find my way back. So really feeling like you have some clarity on your life, clarity on the decisions that you're making. And the reason why that's so important is because we often make decisions from fear. We make decisions because we're trying to make other people happy. We make decisions because we're scared of taking responsibility for our decisions, right? It's much easier to blame other people. Like, if I listen to you and do what you told me to do and it doesn't work out, then it's your fault. But if I'm making a decision of like, this is the best decision for me right now, and it doesn't work out, then I have to take on the accountability for that. But along with having that clarity, and it helps when you are also at peace with, I made the best decision I made with the information I had, and that's what it is. And so if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, now I have new information and I can make a better decision next time. So really having that clarity of like how you want to move, how you want to live, and having peace with, I am making the best decisions for me and no one else. And it's not my job to make the best decisions for even. I just thought about, I was like, is this going to be a debate? Even if you are in a relationship, even when it comes to like parenting and kids, like, you're making the best decision that you can as a parent, right? Like, yes, it reflects to your kids, but I still have to do what's best for me, which in turn helps you and models and shows and all of those things. And probably in me making the best decision for me, I'm also making the best decision for you as well. So I think that sometimes we don't recognize, we get so focused on what other people need that we don't always recognize that when you are taking care of yourself, that overflow automatically impacts the other people around you. And it shows up in their life where they're like, oh, she was in a great mood today. Well, that's because yesterday I did all these things that I needed to do. And so today I was able to have the energy to be in this mood and show up and be authentic and be here for you and listen to you and all of that. So that was a lot.
Yeah. No, because I think what you're talking about really, and we've done episodes before, but maybe that's one that we can go in a little bit deeper, so that we're showing up our fullest. And again, if you're showing up authentically, that's a part of you, then you're just more full. You're more fully yourself. You're more fully yourself, and you're also caring for yourself in a fuller way. So yeah, you're going to be able to have more. That's the irony, is that the more deeply you care for yourself, the more that you're able to care for others.
Yes.
Because then you have more to keep going,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're just outputting, you're going to get depleted at a point. That's where the resentment kicks in. That's where, mom's ready to go on strike. Everybody can
Right.
just,
I don't care what y'all do.
do it themselves.
Yeah. And
But
it's
hard. It's hard.
And it's hard sometimes because we sometimes think that if we love other people so hard and all of that, then they'll love us back just as hard. And what we start to realize is, one, that's just not the reality. But two, why are you depending on other people to love you as much as you need to be loving yourself? Like that self-love is truly how you learn how to love other people. When you learn to love yourself, then it helps you be able to love more genuinely and more deeply, because I know who I am. I feel like I am authentically where I need to be, and I love the decisions I'm making, and I love who I am at this point, so that I am able to, like, again, give that overflow to somebody else.
It is hard, because so many of us have been programmed to think the opposite of that, to think that to be a good person means you're, I hear it a lot, to be selfless.
Yeah.
And I'm of the thinking of, no, I want to be self-full so that I can pour more into you. The idea that I have to take me out of the equation in order to be a good whatever friend, partner, mother. No, I need more of myself to be there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So again, being able to live authentically is tough.
Yeah. So once you get to that space, and once you live authentically, and once you feel so confident and like, this is who I am, and I can show up in the world as myself, and I'm perfectly fine with how the world receives me, is when the haters will come.
Someone is gonna hate it, and someone's gonna hate it. Mm-hmm.
Someone is not going to be happy that you are showing up in the way that you're showing up. And why is that? No. Why do they have to come at that point? Once you get to that space of confidence and stuff, and all of a sudden you start hearing these things that you maybe never heard before?
Well, I think it's a few reasons. I think one is, if you were a pleaser before and now, what is this psychobabble boundaries and authenticity and everything? And like, who do you think you are, right? Like, you are disrupting the status quo. And what we talk about all the time, if you disrupt the status quo, people do not like change, because change hurts our brains. Like, we don't want to go into that.
I don't want to have to adjust for yours because you're taking care of you. Like, I don't want to have to do that. Take care of you and stay the same for me.
Exactly. Well, and especially if you were a people pleaser, people had a good thing going with you because you were taking care of them. You were taking care of everything, probably.
Yep.
And you were really mindful of how you made them feel. And you probably spared them from a whole lot of emotional work.
Yep.
Maybe some even physical work, but you spared them a whole lot of emotional work. So why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me?
Why are you making my life harder?
I hate this, right? I hate this. This whole therapy thing got you, thinking you somebody else.
Got you acting different. It's a lot of adjustments, and people don't want to have to make adjustments. I was perfectly fine with the way things were. You were the one with the problem, which is so funny when people are like, well, he or she doesn't think they have a problem. It's all me. And it's like, okay, but if you work on yourself, it's going to start impacting them. Right. And so they may need to get on board with like, oh, this is going to change the whole dynamic. It doesn't just change me. It doesn't just change like, oh, well, you're the angry one, so you go get help with your anger. And it's like, okay, but once I start working on that anger, that is then going to impact our whole dynamic, because guess what? The anger had a place in the way that we interacted with each other. So it's really uncomfortable for people to watch you set boundaries with them and make changes that are going to impact them. It's also uncomfortable for people to feel like you're leaving them. And so if you are in a space of growth, if you are in a space of like, I can no longer take the burdens on of everyone else, I'm taking care of me and I'm living my life the way that works for me, it doesn't feel good when people are, if somebody else is a little bit more stagnant. if they're not necessarily in that space of growth and doing better. And so sometimes that's a part of the hate, is that who do you think you are that you can rise above? And I've heard that in so many areas, as far as like growth and healing, as far as business, just so many different areas where when you are starting to surpass maybe your peers or the people in your life, that part of that, and we call it jealousy, which I guess that's a good word for it. I guess anytime words have like these negative connotations, I'm always like, oh, but is it jealousy? But I think it's just, it's more of a reflection on what they have going on and what they don't have. And that's the part that makes it difficult, is this is starting to, now I am looking at my situation. And at the time when we were all doing the same thing, it's like, oh, well, this is just what it is. And we don't have the resources and we can't do that. But then when somebody else kind of goes into a different area, it's like, oh, okay, so we're not the same. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's something that I'm not doing, because if I thought we were the same and now you're able to do this, then why am I not able to do it? Or why am I not doing it?
So. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's what you talked about. It's a reflection. So I'm looking at myself. Is it something about me? If you have enough insight, people will say, okay, maybe I need to look at what I'm not doing or what I am doing. Yeah. But then there are people that maybe they don't have. So the people that are going to be hating are going to be the people that maybe they don't have that insight or this reflection, and it's like, oh, who are you to be getting an opportunity? Like, who gave you an opportunity? Like, who do you think you are? You must, like, you couldn't have possibly be doing the things that you're doing on your own merit, right? Or again, because I think of this, I think when we hear a lot about people being haters, I know for me, I'll often go to people that are really successful and then they have haters no matter what. But it's not even that. Again, it could be in your personal life, right? Like, let's say you get divorced and everybody, your group of friends, that you have like a whole group of friends, and they're like, what do you mean you can't be getting divorced? You all been together forever. Like, we're the crew, like, how are you going to break this up? And then, because that's part of what they're thinking about, is like, wait, we have a whole life built around you all being a couple.
Yes.
And then they're convinced, like, you're not going to be happy. There's no way you could be happy. And then you kind of break things up and life changes for them. And then they see that you're actually doing okay. Yeah. Right? Like, maybe you even found a new boo, and you like taken, ussies together and seem to be really enjoying your life.
Right.
One, it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't, you didn't play by the rules and you seem happy. And if I'm following the rules and I believed that the only way I could be happy is if I followed the rules, so does that mean that if I would have broke the rules, I could be possibly living a more authentic life? Right? So people hate that. People will hate anytime somebody lives in a way where it challenges our beliefs. It challenges our core values. It challenges our core beliefs. And if those core beliefs are rooted in whatever you're doing on some level, I believed it to be a limitation, or for it to be just completely taboo and will ruin your life.
Right.
And it doesn't play out that way. That causes a lot of distress in us, because we don't like when our internal world doesn't match the external world.
Yep.
And if you're in my micro world and you are challenging my internal world, that's going to prompt me to look at my internal world. Is what I believe actually true?
Yeah.
And if it's not, what then? So that ultimately, that's what causes the hate. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Last thing, because that was supposed to be the wrap up, but as you were talking, I thought about, check yourself and make sure you're not your own hater. Make sure that you're not the person putting limitations on yourself. Make sure you're not the person telling yourself, who do you think you are? How dare you think that you can be this person? How dare you think you can go through this world authentically? Because we do that a lot as well. We stop ourselves from living authentically because of the fear of just our own beliefs. We won't be able to live up to whatever we think that is. Or when we look at the people that are living authentically, we have created this whole narrative in our head of who they are, and we're hating on other people, which then in turn leads to us hating on ourselves. So be mindful of that. Like, are you your own hater? Are you your first hater? Because you need to let that hater go so you can get the other ones that, you know, the other ones.
That's a whole tweet. Somebody tweet that, please.
Somebody put that tweet that.
Are you your own hater?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think
Make sure that you're.
Anytime I think about, as much as I was saying I'm ready for my haters, I think that part of that is I had to let go of the hate I was doing to myself, the hate I was giving myself. Because in order for me to say, like, I'm ready to live authentically, I'm ready to be me, I was talking myself out of it every day. I was the one telling myself, like, nope, that's not okay. You have to be this way. You have to show up in the world this way for people to be okay with you, for people to like you. So before you start thinking about the other haters, are you the first one? Are you hater number one? And let's try to fix it.
And get comfortable with not everybody liking you.
Yes.
Right? Because that's part of what the conversation was, is like, if everybody likes you, then, you know, you're probably not being fully authentic. We talk about this with our couples. If y'all are never arguing, somebody's not saying something.
Somebody's not getting their needs met. Yeah, that's true. And that was the conversation of, like, for the most part, people like me. I go on social media, I say a few things, I go talk, I say a few things. Nobody's arguing with me. Nobody's telling me I'm wrong. And I'm like, but I guess if I was being a little bit more authentic, because I do have strong opinions, people might have a little bit of pushback. So that's part of, like, you have to understand it. And the thing is, typically when you are living authentically, you are going to vibe with so many people that, like, feel you and understand you and align with you. And there's going to be so many more of them than the actual haters. Yeah. But we be so focused on them haters. Like, those are the ones that get all of our attention. So recognizing that if you are looking for your tribe, if you want people around you that truly feel like these are my people, then you have to be authentic. Because as long as you're straddling a line, nobody feels like they really are connected with you. So you have to be a little bit more out there. So
there you have it.
Hope that was helpful.
You have it.
This is good.
Yes,
this is my own therapy session.
This was good. I know. It's like, yes.
Watch me be on Instagram talking all this cash money. Probably not. But yes, thank you so much for joining us this week. Make sure you follow us across social media at Melanin and Mental Health, Melanin Health on Twitter, and go to melaninmentalhealth.com. So excited about what's going to be happening and so hard not to talk about it. But if you are a clinician, sign up for the directory. You need to do it now. Check it out, sign up, let us know if you need any help. We want to make sure that people are able to find you. We want to make sure that people that are looking for therapists of color, that they can find you easily. And just go to Melanin Mental Health, look at the directory, check out the merchandise, check out the previous podcast, all that jazz. And we will talk to y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.